Hi there. Thank you for deciding to watch this video. This video is titled, "What is the biggest mistake of your life?" To make this video, I've been thinking about two questions fundamentally. The first one is, if you make mistakes in your life, does it mean that you failed? And the other question is, in order to succeed, does it mean that you cannot make mistakes? Kind of weird when you think about it from both those perspectives of what failure is and what success is. Now in my life, anything and everything that I can call a real success, a true success, has been either a direct result or a byproduct of mistakes and failures. So technically, it just feels like the more mistakes you make, the more failures in your life, the more chance, the more probability that you will have in order to succeed. This brings me to question the difference between a mistake and a failure. So a mistake seems like something that you do, and a failure seems like something that happens to you. Right? So you might have made mistakes and you might have failed, but making a mistake is more an action that you have a lot of control over. But failures can be due to a number of reasons that you didn't even anticipate, because you're working in a challenging environment, and that means that there are so many external forces that will not make things easy. And when you really look at all these big shots, all entrepreneurs, all those people who have achieved the so-called success factor, when they talk about their life, they brag about their failures. That brings me to the question to think about, when do you decide that you failed? Because it just feels like failure is something that you decide for yourself at a given point of time. We don't live in the caveman's era, right? We are not cavemen anymore, which means that most of the things that happen to us are not life or death situations, which means even whatever happens to us, after it happens, we come out of it alive. Most so-called challenges. So even if you fail an exam, if your business goes bankrupt, if someone who loves you leaves you, right? So when you think about all these situations, say for example, J.K. Rowling very famously remarked that she took the manuscript of Harry Potter to more than almost 12 or 13 publishers who rejected the manuscript. So failure is seemingly a time-based idea, because if you decide that at this point of time you have failed, that is when you failed. So rather than asking the question, what is failure, it just feels like the right question to ask with respect to failure is, when is failure? Don't you feel like that? Because if you keep grinding and if you keep doing your best, and if you keep going, never giving up, no matter what happens, if you are true to your aim, true to your ambition, and if you just keep working and working and working and putting that right effort and learning and becoming better, at some point you will definitely succeed, which means you haven't failed. Let's talk a little bit about the biggest mistake you can make. And this is a mistake I've made plenty in my life. Can you guess what it is? To be honest, it's a really simple thing. The biggest mistake that, for me, in my opinion, that we all can make is repeating a mistake. See, when you make a mistake, the consequences are what helps us understand that it was a mistake, because the results of our actions are not very positive. So you learn a lot if you really look at a mistake, if you take a step back after something goes wrong, if you take a step back and if you really take a good close look at it, you understand the circumstance of it. You evaluate the picture, the big picture of it. You evaluate what went wrong. You evaluate who you trusted. If you learn from all those triggers, all those seemingly just available plain and simple information out there for you, you can definitely not repeat that mistake ever again. And for me, I have made that mistake of repeating a mistake. And it just feels like the biggest mistake any human being could do. Say, if you throw garbage, right, non-degradable plastic onto the environment, you know it's a mistake. And you know that it's not good for the environment. And it's not something that you ought to do either, because there are a lot of humanity-related perspectives. I have the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals book with me. And one of those is protecting the environment. So if you know it's a mistake, all you have to do is not repeat it, which means that you've become better, which means you're on the path of success. That is what I mean when I say that the biggest mistake that you can make in your life is repeating a mistake. I remember back in 2015, I started a business. It was more of a consultancy. It was an educational consultancy called The Search Bar. And myself and another entrepreneur, we sort of became partners and we started this. We had a team of about 6 employees. And as the business went about, within the first month, we completed a massive project. And it was really good. It was really successful. And we had almost 200 potential customers who needed support in their educational journey. But what happened was, by the 3rd, 4th, 5th month, I realized that I had trusted the wrong person. So now when I look back, I was just a young, aspiring entrepreneur. I need to ask myself, if I want to learn from that incident, was the mistake thinking that I could run a business, manage a business? Was it a mistake to trust people? Was it a mistake to invest all my money in that idea? Was it a mistake to imagine a world where that idea succeeded? What exactly is the mistake here? And have I failed? Right? When I ask these questions from myself, for me, it feels like trust was the biggest mistake in that particular situation that I made. And trust is something that is very peculiar. It works both ways. So I learned a lot about being trustworthy and how trust works, especially in a corporate and business sense. And I brought those lessons forward. And if I let that incident discourage me from becoming an entrepreneur, I would never have started some of the work that I have done over the years. So remember, 1, the biggest mistake you can do in your life is repeating a mistake. 2, you only fail when you decide that you have failed. If you never decide that you failed, you have never ever failed. That means you've always been on the path of success. This is AZB signing out. Keep writing to me. I've been getting good feedback from, well, my target market, which is you, hopefully. Keep writing to me and I would love to connect with you and hear your opinions and share my thoughts and build a community around the idea of becoming a better human being. Good luck.